Manheim has over 188,000 vehicles in stock right now, and in this video I'm going to show you how to search through that inventory and the different types of auctions that they have going on. This is a really common question where a lot of people say they can't find the cars or the bidding style that they're looking for, and it's actually a very good question. So Manheim does have two main types, right? As you can see here, there's make an offer and buy it now. They have something called Simulcast, which is the live sales that most people would consider a traditional bidding auction, right? So Manheim's very cool because you can go there in person and bid live, or you can bid online. So I'm kind of torn myself. I do a little bit of each because the delivery has gotten so much better. But either way, Simulcast live sales is typically what you're looking for. Now, the other things like OVE will be more of your buy it now. And then you may see here Highline sales. That's not necessarily a different type of auction. It's just a class of vehicles. These are usually higher end vehicles and stuff like that. So let's just stick to the search for today and dive right in. So when you sign into Manheim, you always have this top bar, of course. And the quickest way to look up a specific car is to put in the VIN, right? If you want to find a car in the inventory, you just type in the VIN. That's super easy. But to find vehicles that you don't know about, we always come in here. So we have another video on the saved searches, which is really cool. So after we go through all of this, you can set a save search and it can text you and email you as often as you'd like. So let's get into this here. I like starting with this search because you can kind of do a little mini head start before you have to go through the filters on the side, right? So let's take a glance at the brands. I know a lot of people like to see all the different brands that they have in stock. So let's get started there. Like Acura has 1,300, right? I'll go through them pretty quick, but Audi at 4,000. Bentley at 520 is pretty impressive. 8,000 BMW, so we'll go through here a little quicker. 21,000 Chevys. What's cool about this data is you kind of get a trend on what is going on in the market just by seeing their inventory. So you can tell if a brand is more rare or if it's extremely common. And you'll see in the next stage, once we select a brand, how many they have of the different models as well. So it's a really, really cool website, and I would say they do it almost better than anyone else here. All right, 8,000 Rams. Not many Scions anymore. You know, those are going slowly but surely. 5,000 Subarus, 14,000 Toyotas. Cool, so you get the idea. Let's just do a Volkswagen here. So after you select a Volkswagen, of course, you can choose multiple brands. I like to do them individually unless I'm looking for a certain type of thing for a client. Maybe it's a certain size of SUV. Then I would go do my research and then pick all the brands and then all the models. So now that we're under the Volkswagen brand, you'll see here that we have this many vehicles, right? If we just kept it at Volkswagen and didn't choose a model, you can see how many Volkswagens are at each location. Now, if I go and say, I'm looking for more of an Atlas, the obvious will happen. It is now showing me where all these Atlases are located. So even just for that, it is really, really nice. Now, I know getting a vehicle shipped from Phoenix to San Diego only cost me about $400 or $500. So sometimes if there is a good deal on a car out of state, Manheim makes it really easy to still buy that vehicle. So just for fun, let's just say I don't want to hand choose the auctions. I just want to do a certain mileage. Maybe you're willing to drive. You don't want to pay for that shipping. I want to drive up to 100 miles from where I'm at. Then you'll see here, hey, there's only one auction offering that, right? So just to have more data, let's just put in 1,000. Okay, cool. These are close enough for me. Let's get started. Now the year, obviously this is a personal preference. I like doing whatever year has smart technology. Maybe it's Apple CarPlay, stuff like that. So I might look up the year, make, and model that first started having that because it's a huge selling feature, right? So I know where I like to start mine. Now the maximum odometer, I don't like buying high mile cars. I don't necessarily buy 20, 30,000, but I definitely keep it under 70. It just seems to be a lot easier to sell those cars. So I'll do another video on how to find the cheapest cars possible with low miles as well. All right. The grade, typically you would think, okay, out of 5, I want to go select a minimum, right? What is the minimum grade I'm looking for? The only problem is the reason I don't do that is that if you're not getting a lot of vehicles for the search you're doing, I keep it off because sometimes a car may not even have a condition report yet. It's more rare, right? So you still can do, hey, I don't want anything below a 4 or a 3.5. That's fine. But for today, let's just show these 63 vehicles. Now you could save your selection here, but there's no really good point for doing that for what we're doing. Let's switch this to relevance. It's always good to have your vehicles set to relevance. Let's just say we didn't want to make any changes here in the additional filters, right? We could still turn on and off some more things. A lot of times, depending on what you're looking for, this is one of the more useful tools instead of just starting to go through it. So if mileage is the most important for you, then you would say, hey, sort by lowest mileage. And typically, it almost directly associates with the cost, right? But as you're seeing here, we have make an offer, and then we have enter sale. As you can see, live simulcast has a day, a lane, and a run number, right? So on this day, April 30th, in 5 days, this vehicle is going to go through the garage lane number 7, and it will be in the order of 312. Obviously, it starts at number 1, and it goes up to however many cars they have going through that lane. So moving forward here, now that we have it sorted by your mileage, you can see this car here only has 1,000 miles on it, and it has a condition report of 4.9. So we have another video on the condition report, and I'll show you that in great detail in that video. But basically, a 4.9 is basically a brand new car, and you'll see that in that condition report. Now, you'll also notice that some cars are as is. If they're not as is, and they're in a live simulcast, it is almost always a green light guarantee vehicle, right? And we'll do that into a different video as well. But the main point there is if you have a green light guarantee vehicle, you can pay for the inspection after you buy that vehicle. And this just means that when you have that vehicle in your possession, it gives you a guarantee that major components like an engine or a transmission will be functioning properly. Otherwise, they have different options like taking the car back, repairing the car for you, or giving you the equivalent value to have that repair done yourself. Okay, so I assume you kind of get how this works here. Let's do the first thing here of dividing the two different auctions, right? Very rarely will I ever buy an OVE car unless you come across a good deal. It's like a buy it now on eBay. Maybe there is a good deal, right? But more often than not, in the high numbers, you want to be bidding on cars. And typically, maybe you have 20 cars set to bid on one day. There's a very good odd that you're going to get an extremely good deal on one of them, a great deal on another, and then for some reason, some of those cars will go above retail. We don't know why. Maybe someone was there. Maybe he already has a buyer. She already has a buyer, whatever. So let's just jump right to the auction type, and then we'll go through the rest of it. Because as you can see, there is quite a bit of settings, right? So let's just go through it here. Inventory source, that's what you're looking for. OVE, there's 28 of those. That's more of your traditional, make an offer, buy it now eBay style. But if we go into the simulcast, both are pretty much the same. Simulcast, now you'll see as is or enter sale, all these different signs of, and obviously it says simulcast, of an actual sale day. So when these times come, you would click on enter sale and it would bring you over there, and we'll do a live bidding video as well. So let's just stick to these filters. Right now, if this is exactly how I wanted to save my filter, I would just do save filter. And then once you're in here, you would say notify me. So maybe you would call this, Atlas, and you could say 80K miles or something like that. Whatever your settings are, then you put your phone number or your email, and then you say, I would like to be sent a text or an email whenever they're available, or once daily as a summary, or once weekly as a summary. How long should we do this for? I always just say the maximum 1 year, and then I'll come in here and delete that save search when I no longer need it. All right, let's go through these. So now we have it set to simulcast, so this is good for me. I'm going to get all the cars I am looking for, the bidding types. Vehicle type, there's no need to select that. A lot of times with data, if that hasn't been selected, which it pretty much always is, then there's no need to go and select it because you can already see that I've selected Atlas, but one of them is a car and 30 of them are a sport utility, and that does total the amount of vehicles. But if you would have chosen sport utility, you wouldn't have seen this vehicle right here. So when you're doing small numbers, I don't like to play with a lot of the features. I like to keep it straight up. What you're seeing, if it's enough vehicles, not too many, then you're fine. We're not going to add the make. We're not going to add any more models. But as you can see very easily, oh yeah, I also want the Atlas Cross Sport, which is like the same car with 2 less seats, right? A little more sporty. Now, some people, I guess myself included, you only want the premium R line or you want to get something that's not as exotic. You can do that, but it does at least show you how many they have. So I'll speed this up a little bit so the video is not too long. We already know our year. The odometer's already there. The bid or buy it now price, there's really no need to play around with that unless you're sorting through a lot of vehicles because the bidding start price really doesn't have a start price. They're going to be near that adjusted MMR suggestion, right? Probably even lower. But the bidding really starts when the first person raises their hand to make a bid. And we'll show you a bidding video as well. We also do have an auction course at dealer101.com that would help with that, but we'll post some free videos for you as well. Now the vehicle location, well, battery score and all of these. Condition report, it's just saying, hey, only show me the cars that have a condition report. I don't turn them on. You can see the condition report. I also like to see cars that don't have a condition report because if other people are sorting by only show me cars with a condition report, they may be missing out on those on their saved searches. So I like finding the deals. Now, electric vehicle battery score, pretty obvious. It will be listed here, so you don't necessarily need to do that. Most of the battery scores are actually pretty high. Pickup location, and again, the condition report will always tell you. I do not want to change the pickup location. Facility is the same idea. If you're saying, hey, I live near Manheim, San Francisco, I actually want to just change it to that, or I just want to see what those 2 vehicles are. It is a quick on-off. A lot of this is like a Carfax report. How many owners does the car have? And pretty clear what to do here, how many accidents, whatever. But again, if you do choose this and there's no data for it, it's not going to show it. Another thing to share about being a car dealer, because obviously these are wholesale auctions, not public auctions. I think Manheim only has a few locations that are public, but then you have to pay tax and registration and you have access to different vehicles. But being a dealer, if you buy a 1-owner car and then you possess that vehicle, you don't add another owner to that vehicle's history because you're a dealer. So it's really cool that you can buy a single vehicle or a single owner car and then sell it as a single owner car. So pretty neat. And when you select it, it will show you, as you expect, all the ones. So let's go back to all. Canadian vehicles, obviously, it's a rare occasion why you would use that. Door count. A lot of these settings here are excellent if you just want to go search for a category. Maybe you would say SUV with a minimum of 4 doors, and I want it to be all-wheel drive, things like that. So you don't have to do a 2024 Volkswagen. You could just say, I want to go from 2018 to 2025, anything SUV that's front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. So that's a lot of fun to do. I always advise for people that you may be stuck on a year, make, model, or just, I guess, a make that you like, maybe Volkswagen or Lamborghini, whatever. But when you start looking around and you start following auction sales, kind of just watching them, you'll notice that some vehicles do go significantly cheaper than other brands, and it'll help you get into a different niche of making some good money. All right, moving forward, obviously the color, the engine type, all these different things, we know what they are, pretty obvious. Sometimes I don't want a black vehicle, but then there's no way to exclude black, so I just don't click all of these because if a green comes up, I won't have green selected because green is not showing because there's no green within my criteria, right? So that's kind of a thing you'll run into. Structural damage, I do find myself coming in here saying, you know what? I just don't even want to deal with it. I don't even want to have to filter through them. So I like having that on. Let's rush through this. Fuel type, obvious. Interior, obvious. Lane number. You would never sort by lane number unless for some reason you're only buying from a certain lane. Like you just know the seller or they're selling a certain type of vehicles. I don't know. You wouldn't have to type in the year, make, model. You would just put in the lane number and the location, and then you could see what is going through that lane at that location. MMR value, we have a video on that. Basically, the adjusted MMR is all of these cars that have sold. They will give you an actual list of all the vehicles that have sold, their condition, their color, their year, make, model, and how much it sold for. So this number here is an average of all of the 2024 Volkswagen Atlas 2.0 T SELs, right? All-wheel drive. Averaged, and then based off of their miles and condition, it'll be a plus or minus value. So we used to always say, if you get a car less than MMR, you're doing pretty good, right? Because that's the history of how much they're selling for it. Now, doing good in the sense of that's how much they've been selling for at auction. Obviously, you still need to double check that you can make money on buying that car, even though you bought it less than MMR. All right. So all of this is pretty clear. The sale date, the sale type. The reason they're at the bottom is because they're not used very often. So if you have as is, salvage, if you have whatever reason, your seating capacity, this is actually a cool one because everyone's looking for a 7-seater. A 6-seater, if you don't know, would mean that there's 2 captain chairs typically in the center row so that you can walk through to the back and you lose the 7th seat, but at least you have the 6th. So I find that to be really cool with a lot of these SUVs. Now the seller, this is kind of interesting. Sometimes you may want to buy from a specific seller, maybe their Volkswagen credit, things like that. These sellers do have their own rating. So some sellers might have a bad rating, some might have a great 5-star rating. Again, similar to eBay, it's a seller rating. I would never sort by the seller, but you have that ability. So here's your seller rating. So you could say, hey, I only want to buy from a seller that is 4 stars and higher. Seller types, title status. Don't do title status. Title status, if you really wanted to go buy a car today and their title wasn't present, you will get it very quickly. I get if you wanted to walk out of that place with a title today, then you'd probably want to do title present, right? But no need to miss on a good deal because the title's not yet present. Top type, and then lastly, transmission, right? So these are all of your things. They're basically sorted in order, alphabetical order to a certain degree, except for the important ones up here. So that's how you search Manheim. And let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments below, and I'd be happy to help you out. We do provide the California DMV's dealer pre-licensing program. So we do help license car dealers in California. We have moved nationwide to help with all other states as well. So if you did want help with your dealer license, just comment dealer license below and include your state, and I can send something over to you. Thanks for watching. My name is Chris with dealer101.com.